Hello, this is Matt Love for 4 here, and today I am going to be talking about the Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 1. Yeah, this was a really good episode. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time watching it. It's probably better than most of the episodes in Season 5. If you haven't seen it, go watch it because there will be spoilers from that episode in this video. But other than that, let's get right into it. Okay, so the first thing we see is the scene from the trailer where the camera pans round from the wall onto the Castle Black, and we see Davos running, picking up Jon Snow, and they clear that out, and he has a chat with the rest of the knights, watch supporters of Jon. Alistair Thorne tells the other Night's Watch men why he did this, and they all sort of accept it. They take his kind of his reasoning, and they then kind of join his side. They forget about the Jon Snow thing. They're like, yeah, he was going to ruin the Night's Watch with this wildling stuff, which is quite good, I guess. Then Davos sends Dolorous Ed, great character, the only one of Jon Snow's mates still alive, except for Sam, but who cares about him? He sends him to get the wildlings. That's who's going to help them. And and then Alistair Thorne arrives later on in the episode and asks him to come out, and Davos is like, nah, go away. The next thing we see, I believe, is Roose and Ramsay, and they have a chat about losing Sansa and how the whole of the Lannister army is now going to come after them because of what they've done. They've sort of betrayed the king, and Roose knows that he can't hold out against this Lannister army, so they're going to have to get Sansa back if they have any chance of surviving, because they need the Starks on their side. Now Ramsay, you also get to see that he has maybe a bit of heart in him with the Miranda death, but I reckon it was I've heard people say that, oh yeah, he does have a heart, look at him, he's been really nice, but I reckon he's just sort of being patronising. He's not actually hurt by the death of Miranda. He doesn't really care. If you see how easily he kills all the other girls that he's been with, he probably doesn't care about Miranda either. And that sort of sort of expressed in the show by the way that he says to feed her to the dogs. We then see Sansa and Theon running through the forest. They're just sort of running, and then they get caught by the Bolton soldiers, and then Brienne and Pod come back and save them. She then makes an oath to Sansa to protect her, and this is sort of the beginning of Sansa's rise. She's now become Lady Stark. She's going to become stronger after this moment. This is her sort of start of her rise to power. Oathbreaker is the name of episode 3. That might have something to do with this oath, but probably not. I doubt it. It'll probably be something more to do with the oath that she swore to Jaime, and it'll be something along those lines, yeah. Or maybe Jaime's oath or something to do with that. Talking about Jaime, we get Jaime and Cersei. Cersei got a bit of I really liked that bit with Cersei. Sorry, she because you sort of see her realization on her face. She goes from being super happy in one moment, she runs down the stairs, runs onto the beach, and she's like, yep, let's go, I got this, can't wait to see my daughter. Then sees the sort of death, the coffin on the boat, and instantly knows, and you sort of see that look of dread, which is kind of good because we finally got a bit of sorrow for Cersei, a bit of pain for her after all that the Lannisters have done to other people, and it's sort of like the fall of the Lannisters is slowly coming. It's slowly coming, The Lannisters are finally starting to get what's coming to them. They've come, they've taken the throne quickly, and they haven't been able to hold it, and they're finally getting their comeuppance, and suddenly all these people are coming up around them. Talking like that, the Tyrells, they're going to be getting angry soon. Marjorie asks to see Loras, obviously cares about her brother. That's not a really big part of it. Daario and Jorah, we see them looking for Daenerys, which is quite interesting. We see Jorah's grayscale is getting a lot further up his arm. He's almost the whole of his lower arm is now covered with the grayscale. We listen to them talk about, how they love Daenerys and stuff like that. But, Next up we have, I'm going to skip to the end of the episode because quite a few of the other stuff are going to take me a bit more time to talk about. So Arya, you get to see Arya fighting with a waif, or no one, gets confusing, whoever that is. We see her fight blind. She's become like a Daredevil, if you watch the Netflix series. I don't personally, but I know that that's what Daredevil's all about. He's blind and he fights. That's Arya. So Arya's fighting is going to be cool to see in the next seasons. Yeah, so the jumping that we saw in the trailer, that's probably going to be Arya. And who else knows about Arya? She gets pretty badly beaten up. But that's actually something from the book that happens. She gets beaten up in the books with a stick, so it's good to see that being transferred into the show. Skipping back a bit, Tyrion and Varys, they talk about how they're going to have to try and maintain the city from the inside, and that may lead to them releasing the dragons to stop the outside invaders if there are going to be some, because that's probably what's going to happen now that the navy has been burnt. All of the ships have been destroyed. We see Daenerys with a Khal Mono, something like that. In the books, it's called Jacko, or who picks her up, but they're basically the same character. There, you get a bit of banter exchange between the Dothraki and the Dothraki together, which is quite cool to see, I guess. I liked the bit about Daenerys' hair. That was quite funny. I found that hilarious myself. Also, the Dosh Khaleen, that is something straight from the books. The Dosh Khaleen is definitely a threat in the books. That's probably the same way that Daenerys' storyline is going to go in the books in Winter, whenever we get that. But it's quite cool to see that being transferred onto the screen and being recognised. Now, onto the big stuff, the big moments from the episode. Now, I've ordered these specifically, so the next one I'm going to go on to is Dawn, and this sort of came out of nowhere. There was no sort of build up to any of it. It was just sort of bam, 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 straight in there. They're dead. I mean, and I was like, whoa, okay, this is Game of Thrones that we are watching here. It may have been a bit rushed, but I think they had a load of backlash from Dawn last season that how it wasn't great. So it's good that they're sort of responding to that by giving them a bit more to do. And if the whole of Dawn was against Doran, then this means that the Dornish army is gonna be marching on the Lannisters. They're gonna be trying to take back the throne, which is something that I've wanted to see for a while in the books. It hasn't happened in the books as of yet, and it's great to see it in the show. So the Lannisters are finally getting their comeuppance as with the death of Myrcella. Now, they could be fighting a war on two fronts here, because if they're going to go after the Boltons because of the marrying Sansa trick, and they're going to be going after the Dornish, then they're going to be really struggling to maintain the peace. If they're attacking in the north and in the south, then it's going to be really difficult to maintain the peace, and it might allow the Tyrells or the Greyjoys or someone like that to slip in. Although I don't think it'll be the Greyjoys, if you've seen my video that I made yesterday, I believe. Now, on to the last thing of the episode that I think there was, and that is Melisandre. Now, this was a absolutely massive moment in the episode right at the end. There's always big finales and Game of Thrones, big cliffhangers, and it's really weird to see this. If you've had any Melisandre fantasies, it's a bit weird now. But yes, great, I guess, maybe great. But seeing that she's so old, and we don't know how old. She could be like 90, she could be 2000, she could have been there the last long night, we don't know. She could have been there during the Targaryen rule. We don't know how old she is. There's no sort of mark on how old she is. And so but it also shows that she does actually have power. None of it was lying. She wasn't lying, she wasn't making it all up. She does have a bit of power, and we've seen that in Thoros resurrecting Beric Dondarrion. Notice how it brought up resurrection. Maybe a certain other character may be getting resurrected, who by we don't know yet. But this Melisandre moment really came out of nowhere, and they're going to have to explain it in the next episode. I'm not sure how this is going to go. I mean, will anyone find out? Because Davos went to see Melisandre to ask for her help. So maybe Davos is going to enter next episode and be like, why are you so old, mate? And then she's going to be like, crying or whatever. It's going to be like, oh, I didn't see this. And she talks about how she saw Jon Snow at Winterfell as well, which is kind of foreshadowing for the future when Jon Snow will be at Winterfell. Maybe. Hopefully. But anyway, thank you for watching my Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 1 review. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.